Well, folks, it looks like the conspiracy theorists have been proved right once again, as the return of COVID-19 is well and truly in full swing. The rise in the new COVID variant nicknamed Eris has caused the world's mainstream media to go into a full-on meltdown, with primary healthcare expert at the University of Oxford, Trisha Greenhalgh, calling for the return of mask wearing. Not only that, last week Morris Brown College in Atlanta, Georgia implemented a 2-week COVID mask mandate, so it seems that this madness is swiftly making its way across the globe. In a statement on their Instagram, Morris Brown College announced the reintroduction of the temporary COVID measures, including a requirement for mask wearing by students and employees, physical distancing, moving large gatherings outside, contact tracing, and other significant efforts to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Now, of course, for us Brits, we all remember how 2 weeks to flatten the curve soon turned into 2 years of economic self-harm and the biggest attack on civil liberties in my lifetime. I don't care about whatever hysteria scientists and the mainstream media mouthpieces can conjure up. I will not wear a silly mask, take a test, or accept my civil liberties being removed again. Not for 1 second. And I know full well that I'm not the only one. People seem to be forgetting that there are a lot of folk who got incredibly rich off of the back of the pandemic. 493 people became billionaires during the COVID years, and scientists and other scaremongering media people got the 15 minutes of fame they were so desperate for. The woke left-wing COVID zealots could finally be the little authoritarians they've always dreamed of being. So why are we surprised that they're not willing to give up their power just yet? English Deputy Chief Medical Officer Jonathan Van Tam, one of the key architects of the UK's lockdown, has just joined COVID-19 vaccine giant Moderna as a clinical advisor after resigning as the Deputy Chief Medical Officer in January 2022. In 2020, Professor Van Tam urged the public to take up the vaccine if they wanted restrictions to be lifted, saying that, quote, low uptake of vaccines will almost certainly make restrictions last longer. According to Reuters, Moderna has generated around $36 billion in sales over the last 2 years from the COVID-19 vaccine. This then surely must raise questions about the constantly revolving door between government and business. It all just smells a little bit fishy, doesn't it? Now, many of the scientists behind the UK's lockdown, such as Professor Neil Ferguson, have admitted that their predictions were wrong. For example, his prediction that Britain would face 100,000 COVID cases per day once COVID restrictions were eased. He also said that lockdowns are unlikely to be needed to control the pandemic in the future. So there we have it, folks. One of the scientists behind the lockdowns openly admitting that lockdowns didn't work, something us COVID deniers have been saying all along. Yet not one of these so-called experts face any sort of career repercussions, despite the consequences that their failed science has had on the lives and livelihoods of those who had to follow the rules. People lost their businesses that they'd spent their entire life savings setting up. Students like me were barricaded out of schools and left to face the consequences of lockdowns for the rest of our lives. People missed out on vital cancer screenings as the National Health Service became the National COVID Service. University students lost out on vital job opportunities as businesses closed. People lost their jobs and struggled to put food on the table. And all of us missed out on life's most precious moments: birthdays, Christmases, weddings, and sadly for many, their loved ones' funerals. Moments in their lives that they can never get back. The so-called experts behind the UK's COVID response were rewarded with knighthoods and, for some, like Jonathan Van Tam, lucrative advisory jobs, whilst the rest of us paid a hefty price and were left to pick up the pieces. We shouldn't be rewarding failure, and that they should be stripped of their knighthoods. It is important that we all come together and reject any attempts at reintroducing the COVID measures that were so destructive and pointless. We must withstand media hysteria and fear-mongering by those with ulterior motives and personal interests, and push for those responsible for lockdowns to be held accountable for their failings. We have to say no to masks, no to lockdowns, and instead say yes to facts and to freedom. That's all from me this week, folks. Thanks for watching, but do have a look around for more content from ADH on social media or our website, adh.tv.